All right, take 26. My video for the Anycubic Chiron people / Chiron, however you want to pronounce the word Chiron. It's properly pronounced Chiron. Just to let y'all know, it's like a ancient Greek mythological character, I believe. I need to do some more research to give you some exact details, but don't quote me on that. But I know it's a Greek name and it's an older name, and it's properly pronounced Chiron. Anyways. The reason why I'm making this video is not all these. I actually got an expandable sleeving video I just made. I'm gonna publish that one here. It's already published to YouTube. Yeah, I love expandable sleeving, and I color coded all my wires. Like this one's the thermistor or heater cartridge. This one's the thermistor. Or this one's the stepper motor, and this one is for the BL Touch, and this one's for the end stop. This one got off track there, out of view. This is for the end stop right here. Yeah, anyways, and by the way, hot glue is your best friend if you're trying to keep these connectors connected. And I redid my heater cartridge and thermistor wire, so that way it's really short, and I can just get a I got a JST crimper and some terminals and some housings right here. And I wire it up straight up to here to this point, and then I make it towards interchangeable right up here at the head, the print head. So that way it's just so much easier to do the swapping out of the thermistor instead of grabbing the wire and then routing it all the way back to the electronics case and what have you, and then go all the way back to the electronics case. I just do it right here at the print head, so it makes it 1,000% easier. And actually get a hold on, let's see here. I got my box of goodies here. Come on. And what I do is when I get those thermistors and heater cartridges from off Amazon, because they deliver so fast. I cut them at the tip, and then I crimp on my own JST terminals, and yeah, it's just a much better way of a more efficient way of swapping them out. And then when they're swapped out, when I connect them, I always pinch them together. And hold them together. And then I put some hot glue right across here, and sometimes on the back side, sometimes double sided. And anyways, getting off track here. This wasn't meant to be for all this. This is come on now, come on people now. Smile on your breath. And here's one of the thermistor ones. Same concept. Anyways, enough about all that. I'll do a whole video on that later. But this video is for this bracket right here. Actually, this is called the Y-Rod holder offset bracket, and it's called offset because it's offset from its original course right here. It's offset from the original course by 14 millimeters exactly, and and it's called offset because it's off. Well, it's off. Yeah, that's what I just explained. It's offset, and then it's called the Y-rod holder because it holds the Y axis rods for the bed. There were some key advantages to doing it this way. I've got my thing flipped over on its side, so you have to bear with me a little bit. Here, let me unplug this so that way it doesn't shine up in the video. Turn down the I got this on here too. Let me turn this down. Anyways, there's advantages to offsetting these by 14 millimeters to the left and 14 millimeters to the right. The main advantage was so I can use the original holes right here. There's one of the original holes that's exposed right here. This one right here. These are the original holes that the eccentric nuts went into, and here's the eccentric nut, and I've scored it actually. I've got a score marker across it, and I've got a score marker across the other one with a little bit of put a dark marker on it. And I did that, and just to explain to you guys what an eccentric nut is, I have a secret, guys. It's me. I'm the eccentric nut. No, I'm just kidding. No, for reals. The eccentric nut is named such because it has an offset capability to it, so you can offset whatever you put a bolt through here, and as long as you have the right size hole for this thing to actually stuff into, which is that hole right there, that's that bigger hole for the Y carriage right here, that hole right here, dang, I can't right there, that big hole right there. Anyways, this fits in there. And then whenever you need to, if you ever have some slack in your bed, like if you ever grab your bed and you can wiggle it, and or if it's really hard, it's too hard to roll it back and forth. What you do is you get a little wrench, and you turn. Well, the problem with the Chiron is it came with so many eccentric nuts. There were so many eccentric nuts. There was like six for each side, which is like an insane amount of freaking eccentric nuts. And I think there's 6 to each side, or there's 3 to each side for sure, at least. And you offset them a little bit. You might need to get a wrench and then turn them a little bit, so that way you can make your bed move more freely. Or if you've got slack or something like that in there, you can wiggle it and you feel some slack in there. That's because your eccentric nuts are not positioned properly to put pressure against this 2040 extrusion right here. So you want it to be able to roll smoothly, but also you don't want it to wiggle in any sort of way either. And so when I had this Y-carriage linear rod mod hooked up to this, I had to drill so many different holes because I wanted to get the perfect position in there. And I'm sure you might be able to see it, but you see how it looks. See how those holes, how ugly they are, and they're big and they're wide. I needed them to be big and wide so that way it can give me some variance to give me some slack. That basically what I needed was those eccentric nuts. But I didn't devise a way to incorporate those eccentric nuts into this Y-rod design, and I much needed that. And anyways, so what I did was I devised a way of creating this bracket, which fits perfectly over these end caps. By the way, they fit perfectly. And before this little Y-rod holder bracket right here used to fit in right here, and that's where that hole came from. So I drilled a hole down the center of this. But when I release these files to you guys, it's gonna have 2 holes. It's gonna have a hole right here and a hole on the other side. It's gonna have a hole right here and a hole right there. So that way you can put a T-nut down each side, right where those little things that dip down inside the 2040 extrusion. Right, that's where your eccentric nuts are going to go, and there's going to be those little protrusions. Those are going to still be there, but they're not going to be as pronounced. So that way, it makes room for the T-nuts. So you can use 2 T-nuts per side. I mean, per bracket with a little bolt and a washer if you need to, and that'll help keep this in place. Now, I will tell you this: if you have a good calibrated machine and it prints really well, whenever you print this bracket, this Y-rod holder offset bracket, it's going to snap right on that end cap real nice and snug, but it's not going to be snug enough to keep it from collapsing this way from the weight of this. So that's why you're going to need the T-nut here or T-nut over there in order to lock this down in place. You can get by with at least 1 T-nut per. If you only got like like 4 of them sitting around the house, that's all you need. You can get by with just 1 for each one of these, but really you need 2 to keep it balanced properly. So anyways, and the other thing I did with this file was I made it to where that thing right there. I made it to where you can have some variance right here, so that way it gives you some wiggle room for your bracket right here. However, here's the thing: if you could buy a 650 millimeter, and the reason why I extended this out so much. Oh yeah, I forgot to finish the other reason. The reason why I extended this out this way was to give a wider stance on the bed. So here, let me come around here on this side. To give it a wider stance on the bed. See how you got a block right here and a block over there? Well, before I had 2 blocks literally like right here side by side because I didn't have much room going this way and much room going that way in order for the bed to slide and to not only slide back and forth, but to get every single bit of this print surface a spot where it would hit the nozzle. So that's why I was really trying to figure out a way to devise this Y-rod holder offset bracket right here, and it's a really simple device, and this is just the first design, so you can consider this beta if you want, but it fits nice and snug, and it works really great. And now whenever I move this, it was smooth before, but not as smooth as this. I mean, just real smooth, real butter smooth. Not only that, but it doesn't wiggle. doesn't wiggle at all, and I can use those eccentric nuts. So I'm freaking happy, man. I'm super duper happy. And here's the thing: you only need one eccentric nut per carriage block, because if you put 2 on there, you can make it work with. But I'll have to drill. You'd have to drill a hole for the other eccentric nut. Then you'd be sit there trying to wiggle 2 eccentric nuts at the same time to get them to position properly. When it's best to just use 1 per carriage block, so that way it doesn't cause any binding issues. Because here's the thing: say like you put 2 of them in there. If one of them is offset just a little bit and it makes the carriage block goes off to the left or to the right, it's going to cause binding issues, and your bed's not going to slide as easily back and forth. And yes, you can fix it with those eccentric nuts, but I just feel like at the end of the day, it's just better to have 1 per carriage block, so that way it reduces your variables. So that way you can easily tune your Y a lot better than if you have 2 of them, because that creates more variables, like I said. And here, I'm sure you're noticing, I got a full size. That's the other great thing about this Y rod holder offset bracket is I've got freaking clearance. I got good clearance too. I got good clearance, and I've got just a traditional leveling screw adjustment knob. There you go, adjustment knob. And but here's the thing: this threading for this bolt up in here is not M4 like most of them are, or M3 for that matter. Like my King Room KP3S that's printing right now, that one is M3 nuts. Most of these leveling knobs are M4, but this is M5. So what I had to do is I had to drill it out with a like a 4.6 millimeter drill bit, and that left me enough wiggle room to be able to thread in an M5 threaded tap and die, so I could tap it and thread it with M5 threading. And now and it took a little bit of force to get it on that first go. And here's the thing: if you don't have a tap and die set, you could probably get away with just drilling it out and then threading it manually onto this thing. But I'll forewarn you, it's gonna take some force to get that thing threaded on there and to basically thread it for the first time. But once it's threaded, it'll be easier and easier to do it. But I recommend you get a tap and die set, and you can get one off Amazon for like $26 here in the USA, Amazon.com. And so it just feels great to not have these little itty bitty adjustment knobs anymore. Where are they at? I got them. These little itty bitty ones, because here's the thing, man. These don't give you fine tuning ability. These are much bigger, so they give you much more variance for fine tuning your bed. And after I got everything on there, I went ahead and I got my calipers and I measured the distance from the bottom of this plate, the original DC heater plate, to the top of this right here, and I got 25 millimeters each side. So I got it right here. I tuned it to 25 millimeters, went over there, tuned it to 25 millimeters, went over there, 25, and then made sure they were all the distance of 25 millimeters. Then I measured the distance from here to here, and it got a certain number, and then I kept that, and I made sure that was equal, and then I came over here and got another measurement and made sure that was equal to this other side. And then what I did was I tuned these little things right here, these little couplers, these little flexible shaft couplers, which I recommend. If you do get these flexible shaft couplers, I strongly recommend you get a 8 millimeter ball bearing. You stick that 8 millimeter ball bearing inside here with a little bit of super lube to keep the steel parts all lubed up. You drop that 8 millimeter bearing into the top of this coupler, so that way whenever your lead screw goes inside of here and it touches on top of that bearing, it gives it more ability to be able to wiggle around freely. But you also need to expand this and push it upwards at the same time that you're tightening it against this lead screw, because if you don't, for some reason it bobs a little bit whenever it's going up and down. So I had to literally stretch this direction, tighten it on the bottom, and then stretch it up this way by sticking something in there and then spreading that out like that. And then, and by doing that, whenever you tighten the top, it literally puts the force going back down on top of that bearing, that single 8 millimeter bearing. So anyways, yeah. So just to recap, the Y rod holder offset bracket, it gives it a 14 millimeter offset, allows you to use the original eccentric nuts, and it gives it a wider stance, and you get the full range of motion. So, all right, so say like my nozzle's right here. I can actually get some. I get some. Well, actually, the nozzle comes to about right here anyway. So it comes about right here. Doesn't hit my clips. So it goes about right here. And then when it goes to the other side, I think I get more than enough. Hold on, there it goes, touching. And I get excessive amounts on that side actually. And of course, when I go left and right with this, I get the full. Actually, I get the full right here, and then it goes all the way back up to the top. And then, boom, I get the whole side on that side, and then some actually. So now I got the full range of motion all taken care of. And here's the thing: once I release these files, you guys don't have to go through the painful process of drilling so many holes in your steel plate like I did. See, there's drill holes right there, drill holes back there. There's a hole I drilled right there. Freaking another hole that I drilled right there. So I turned it into Swiss cheese, just trying to get everything right and perfect. And I realized quickly that using one bolt per carriage block, one bolt, was the best way to go, because you put two in there. Like I said, even if you do it with the drill press, as perfect as you try to get it, it might be slightly offset just enough to piss you off and make some binding issues cause where it won't freaking roll smoothly on the linear rods. So and for these are 12 millimeter rods diameter, and then 650 millimeter length. That's all you need. 650 millimeter length, 12 millimeter diameter. For your X, you need 10 millimeter. And also with these files right here, I offset these a little bit to come out this way, and for the other one to come out and go to the left a little bit. So that way you can fit exactly a 550 millimeter rod right here without having to cut it. So you can order 550 millimeter length, 10 millimeter rod, two of them for the X. Then about the 600 millimeter length, 10 millimeter rods for the Z, two of those. And then two 12 millimeter diameter, 650 millimeter length rods for the Y. So this is about $18 to $23. About same price, and about the same price for that. So it's looking like 50 to 60 to 75 bucks. And I recommend this one supplier called Ferinx, F-E-Y-R-I-N-X, off of Amazon.com. If you're in another country, I don't know what to tell you, man. But anyways, I'm going to release these Y-rod offset holder brackets here pretty soon. I just need to do some adjustments on them. And I'm going to come up with a new design to where it looks better, I guess. But right now, as it sits, it looks pretty darn good. It's got a little offset to it. It's raised up a little bit, and it kind of gets off the thing. And actually, I can actually lower this little block right here. I can actually lower it where this rod comes down even further this way because I got plenty of clearance. I just need to take some of that height, that space height away from right there, so that way it releases the block lower, so that way you can get more Z height, because right now I'm losing about 7 millimeters, which is not it. I mean, if you use your full height of your Z, man, you got something going on, because I rarely ever use the whole Z on here. Don't get me wrong, this thing does print. Right now I'm just going through a little remodeling, because I actually just redid these, and I said while I'm at it, I'm gonna. Oh yeah, I forgot. Dang it. With these new Y-rod holder offset brackets, you're also going to need your undercarriage block right here. And this is the first time design. And what I had to do was I had to lower where these little blocks were. Instead of being up here on the top, I had to drop them down about 50 millimeters. This is about 52 millimeters. But as you can see, it's about 2 millimeters too low, because it kind of dips down a little bit. So I need it to be about 50 millimeters exactly. And with that, I also need to come up with a little bit better way of installing the. You can use the. Oh yeah, and here's the thing: you can use your traditional mechanical end stop, and it'll touch and hit right here. Boom! It'll click right on that. You don't have to do nothing. It'll basically hit right there. However, if you go with a optical axis, and if you get a BL Touch, which I'm sure you're going to do if you're going to do all these upgrades anyway, you might as well get a BL Touch. I put the optical end stop from the Z over here to the Y to give it more accuracy, and I hated how every time the bed would level, it would ram against the mechanical end stop and hit it twice to get an accurate reading. but it would kind of wiggle the bed a little bit. But that was before, when I didn't have the firm eccentric nut capability as I do in this one. So now I got this little thing that stabs in here. The original thing that would stab into that optical axis now stabs into the Y, in from the Y. Hold on, let me get here. So that thing, I'm sure you can see it, it stabs right into it. And I've got it in place right now with hot glue. Hot glue is tremendous, man. This stuff works great, man. And I just need to make it to where it actually bolts into that thing perfectly. And you could use the original spot on here, but instead I incorporated the original mounting part for the optical axis. I actually mounted it to where it would mount on that, and then you can mount it onto the original part right here, and then that would give you some length back this way to give it a little more room. So anyways, and I need to finish wiring that up. As you can see, I got the thing right there, and I've got the expandable sleeving already wrapped up in there on the new wire. I just need to install that and get it going. But yeah, lots of upgrades here, man. There isn't a thing that I haven't done on here. In stop, I basically got it wired to where it piggybacks off a bolt that comes from back here. I had to create this adapter mount for the direct drive, so that way I could have a BMG extruder along with a V6 hot end, because the files that I basically used, these files came from Caribou3D.com. Caribou3D.com. And they have a little download section where you can download it sends you to GitHub. From GitHub, you can download their files for their Caribou 320, 220, or 420 printer. And the reason why it's called 220 is because it's the Z height. It's 220 millimeters, or it's 320 because it's 320 millimeters, and so on and so forth. However, their files, and they call their printers MK3S and whatnot, and they're basically just they call them Prusa upgrade kits or whatever, because it used the same basically everything, but they upgraded their parts and stuff and whatnot, because the Prusas don't always come with the best components. It comes with great ideas, but not the best components, just to be honest with Prusas. So anyways, I adapted these files to work on this type of frame, a 2020 or 2040, or basically a 20 millimeter width and height extrusion. So it fit into these slots, because these slots are about 6.4 millimeters in width. And the Prusas and the Bear frames and the Caribou printers, those have a 30-30 extrusion bar frame, which is 30 millimeters by 30 millimeters instead of the 20 millimeters like this one. So it has a slightly bigger, wider gap. And obviously these files would not fit into this gap because it was a 30 millimeter frame. So I adapted these to work on the Chiron, particularly with these wire rod holder offset brackets. And I made these to where this would actually jut out a little more to the right and to the left. So that way, you could, like I said before, you could fit a 550 millimeter in length rod in here exactly. And the rod would fit in here exactly, and you don't have to do any cutting whatsoever. So you got a 550 millimeter here, 600 millimeter here, and 650 millimeter right here. And you shouldn't have to do any cutting whatsoever. And I know there's no bolts on the top part, but it's all underneath. And and I'm missing a bolt too with this one. Matter of fact, but normally this should bolt in from the top, and that should lock in this whole entire piece right here. And I'll include two different types of these. It'll include the closed hole one that has a closed face on the back. Or I'll have the open hole one, which will be called the open hole wire rod holder. Or wire rod holder dash open hole, because it'll have the open hole here, just in case you want to get, like, say, 750 millimeter rods that'll stick out even further a little bit. You get to see that tip that sticks out, so it'll look, kind of give it a cool, beefier look. Or you could just have it closed off completely and where it caps off right here. But in order to get the good wide stance on the bed with those carriage blocks, and in order to get the full access to the nozzle no matter where the bed goes, and to have the wider stance, like I said, you're going to need the 650 millimeter in length rods. They're 12 millimeters in diameter. And with these, you can't bend these at all, man. I'm pretty darn strong, I think. There's definitely stronger guys out there than me, for sure, but with full force, I can't bend these or whatever. These are really, really strong. These 12mm rods, and the 10mm I can't bend either. They're really strong as well. And I'll include this honeycomb direct drive adapter mount. It's got a honeycomb pattern. It's really sturdy. It's really strong, and it bolts in right here. But what I'm also working on right now is sorry this video is so long. I'm working on a direct drive adapter mount that actually clips on right here and is a quick release. So it basically clips into the top, it locks in and clips in from the top, and then it has 2 bolts. It either has 1 bolt down the middle and on the bottom, but that might be hard to access while the V6 hot end is sticking down and is down there. So a quick swap one might be better if I put a bolt right here and a bolt right here. So that way you just got to do 2 bolts. So it clips in on the top and it locks in this way, and then you just lock it in place with 2 bolts, one right here and one right here. So that way you can quick release it in case you need to switch out your printer head for something else. And also I made it to where it has a variable height. So as you can see, there's plenty of room for your stepper motor to go in right here. You got plenty of room. Dang it. Well, let me open this up again and then put this in here, and it gives you a variable height in case you need more height this way, or less height going down this way, or whatever. If you need to adjust your Z for that matter, you can adjust it. And the only thing you got to do to lock it back in place is to tighten these bolts right here, and that'll put pressure against that. Boom. Which will then put pressure on that, and it locks it in place. So I like the idea of being able to switch between volcano nozzles and regular heater block nozzles, or you know what I mean, the regular size V6 hot end or the volcano hot end. I could switch between both of those if I have a hot end ready to go or whatnot. I could just loosen up these bolts and unloosen those 2 things, and boom, I can switch out my hot end real quick. Like I got over here. So it's basically, this is ready to go basically. Here's my hot expandable sleeving collection. So yeah, if I got one of these and I got a hot end sticking in there, I could basically just swap it out real quick and then put in another one. Real quick, let me finish up the video. I know it's taking a long time. I wired this up. I'm basically going through a transition process. I'm transitioning all the stepper motor wires to be in a highlighter yellow color. This is actually highlighter yellow. It's not fluorescent yellow. It's called highlighter yellow. And no kidding, when you put it next to a highlighter, it looks just like highlighter yellow. And this is solid yellow. I call it solid yellow, but they call it neon yellow, but it doesn't look neon to me. And that's for my end stops. All my end stops are going to be solid yellow. The BL Touch is actually a bluish green, because I went with fluorescent green mixed with the neon yellow. I'm sorry, with the highlighter yellow, and it gave it this nice little turquoise color to it. And the cool thing about the Chiron electronics case is it gives you a lot of room behind the motherboard. So you get all this room back here. You get about half a finger's worth of room back here where you can stuff all the wiring at. And you can route them to where they go behind the electronics case so you don't see them. So whenever this thing is plugged in and it's right here like this and it's plugged up against the thing, you don't see all the wire stuff behind it. And also I made this adapter mount for the Duet 3 Mini 5 Plus. I made it to where the wires will route through these little holes, these cable guides, and it locks them all into place. And then they jut out from behind out to the front. All you see is this clean interface. And there's my hot end, my MOSFET for my hot end right here. And then, oh yeah, I made it to where this freaking adapter mount locks. It has a little dimple right here, and basically you put a 60-20 fan right there, and you just push it in, and it locks into place because of the wedge pressure from that little slot that it slides into. And then there's the solid state relay for the bed, and now the bed is actually bridged off the rocker switch, so that way it just plugs in straight to the wall. All right, so you get power from the wall. Comes from the wall, goes right here into this thing right here, and then from here I got it bridged off to go to the solid state relay, and then it bridges off to another direction and goes to this PSU. And so they're both getting power at the same time from the wall. And so now I don't need this 600 watt mean well PSU. I can get by with like 150 watt or 250 watt PSU for for the Chiron, because the only thing that needs the wattage now is the hot end, which doesn't require as much wattage, not nearly as much as the bed, and the stepper motors and the fans. And other than that, and the board itself, that's the only thing that needs power now. So it took away a huge chunk of the power hungry devices by removing the need for PSU for the bed. So I can get by, like I said, I can get by with 150 watt or 200 watt or 250 watt PSU, but since I already got the 600-24 on here, I might as well just keep it on there. And anyways, everything comes around, routes right there, and then comes around that corner. And here's the thing about this SE600-24 is everything's back here in the rear. That's where you put your AC input right here for your AC power, for the PSU power. It's back here. So anyways, I color-coded everything. Solid yellows in stops, and like I mentioned before at the beginning of the video, comes around here, and then it goes inside here, and then it routes behind the pie, and it goes back here, and then I got everything all zip tied up and looking all lovely back there. And when I'm ready to put this back in place, I'll just unhook these two, of course, and then just tighten this back down, and boom, I got a nice little clean little look on my electronics case. So anyway, guys, this video is 31 minutes long. All right, y'all blessed day. Thanks, y'all blessed day. Let me know if you got any questions. I'll be releasing those files soon enough. All right, thanks, y'all blessed day.